So as it turns out, the Spider-Man versus Venom film almost happened. They were literally ready to announce it, but it was cancelled due to studio politics, as Tom Hardy reveals. And we know what studio played a political game on this one, and that's Marvel Studios and Disney. Let me just say this right out the gate. There is a lot of misinformation regarding this whole thing because people are just making things up. And the moment you look at what they're saying, if you just know the basic timetable of events, you can put together that they're just making stuff up or not even reporting it correctly. So let's talk about what's going on here and what was revealed, what Tom Hardy said, how close they got, and something else I heard all the way back when. So this is going to be a bit of a longer video. So as you guys know, after The Amazing Spider-Man 2 bombed, Sony was still dead set on making Spider-Man movies, but they of course agreed to work with Marvel Studios. It was at this time that the messaging was not very clear. Sony was saying, well, we can make movies based on Spider-Man, and they're adjacent, like side pieces to the Spider-Man films, insinuating they're part of the MCU. We now know that that was never the case, but at the time, the messaging was confusing. Marvel was playing their own game, and they were like, we're just doing our own Spider-Man, right? And that's what they set out to do. Spider-Man happens, Spider-Man Homecoming, and then we get into the production of the second film while Venom is kicking up, right? Its production. As I report exclusively way back when, a couple months before Venom came out, the whole Spider-Man and Venom was supposed to happen. That was going to happen. Marvel put their foot down and said, no, this doesn't make sense. Why would he appear in there when Venom's not set in our universe? And the studios agreed, fine, we're not going to put that scene in there. But Spider-Man Far From Home ends up coming out. And after that, if you guys remember, a year before it happened, I said it would happen. The license would be pulled by Sony from Marvel Studios. That happened almost a year to the dot after I reported it. So then they got into a massive public war, and that was covered by everybody. A couple months after, the announcement was made. Okay, Spider-Man is back in the MCU. We're doing another film, but Sony's got something up their sleeve. What this was, as we found out in Venom, hey look, Spider-Man's gonna appear there in a weird way. Post-credit scene, build up, things are happening with the multiverse. Over on the Marvel side of things were looking weird. They had to start playing ball with Sony. Hence why Venom made it into, just partially, into Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, before we get to the rest of the story, let's talk about what Tom Hardy recently said. And he said, and I quote, Spider-Man and Venom crossover film got close to happening, but studio politics prevented it. I would have loved to done it because that just means so much fun. End quote. Okay, so we gotta take ourselves into when and where could this have happened. And a lot of people are saying it was supposed to be, again, that's what they're saying, around No Way Home. Now, this is literally wrong. This is wrong. And all you have to do is look back at the events and what happened after Spider-Man was taken out of the MCU, where Tom Holland revealed that he was meeting with Amy Pascal and other producers and that they were coming up with ideas. At the time, Tom Hardy was even saying they're all talking and he hopes for a Spider-Man crossover. And before Spider-Man was ever back in the MCU, there's multiple interviews with Tom Holland, with Tom Hardy, and Amy Pascal, where they're all teasing a Venom crossover. When Spider-Man was announced back for the MCU, for Spider-Man No Way Home, the deal fell through. So the reason Tom Hardy appears in that film just briefly is sort of like, hey, thank you. Okay, the setup pieces were there when everything fell apart, but this is not what we're doing because he's back in the MCU and Marvel Studios was not going to allow Venom to just kind of happen in that film, right? It just doesn't make sense for the third film, because why would it? They were going in a multiverse direction. So this whole thing happened during that like 5 to 6 month period where Spider-Man was not in the MCU. And something that I've never talked about, and I heard about this probably about 3-ish years ago, or whenever Spider-Man No Way Home came out. I guess it's like almost 4 or 5 years now. My God, it's been a while. But I was talking to somebody specifically that was talking to me about Spider-Man and the rights and the logistics of that film. And he specifically told me that Venom was considered for a bigger role, and that there were even discussions about ending the film in a way where Peter would sort of disappear, go into the Venom universe, fight Venom in Venom 3, and then be thrown back into the MCU like nothing happened. But again, studio politics got in the way. So I'm under the belief that everything fell apart after they were trying to lock it in, right when Spider-Man was back at Marvel Studios, and Sony decided to play, well, their game and say, okay, we want billions of dollars, we got to do a multiverse film, and we got to throw these mentions and characters in there and Easter eggs because we're building out our own universe. So you got to toss in a Craven Easter egg, you got to toss in a Madam Web and Master, but whoever that one guy is that appears there, I can't remember his name. Night Guard, whatever, Night Trash. Anyways, it's pretty clear who put their foot down, and it's Marvel Studios. Sony would not have cared that it doesn't make sense or anything like that, because why would they? They literally don't care. And if you really think about it, what could have made this make sense? Like, why is Spider-Man then fighting Venom when Venom is a good guy? You know? Like, none of it made sense in the context of the MCU. And I'm glad that Marvel never got this done, because clearly we're going to get it in the MCU over the course of the next trilogy. I think that's pretty much evident once you see how things are starting to play out. So overall, I'm pretty excited to see what happens with that symbiote leftover piece, and I don't know, probably like Venom appearing in Secret Wars as well. They'll probably pay that back somehow right there to just kind of wink and nod to what could have been. Thank you for checking out that video, and thank you for your continued support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you will, and if you're so inclined and would like some additional content from us, which includes unfiltered content and bonus discussions, we do offer exclusively in our member section. We hope to see you there. So thank you for watching, and have a good one.